Hello everyone, my name is Shamizi and I am responsible for working on the second outcome of our ART project, which is the pedestrian crossing. Now, so what we have here is the simulator that allows me to control my traffic light here, which is connected to a gate, and there's also sound implemented in here, but I'll show you more about that later. So to control this thing, what I need to include first is I need to put in a digital input that has multiple ports. Two ports. So these two ports here, are basically to connect the two switches that acts as the buttons that controls the traffic light here. So one is for the pedestrian and one is for the emergency switch. I'll explain more about the emergency switch later, but for now let's just continue on. So now what we have here is basically the state of the traffic flow. So when the system starts, it starts off as showing red with the gate closed at 3.5 volts. The servo is set at 3.5 volts so that it can show that it's closed, which is this position right here. So when you enter the default state, which is this one, if a person ever enters the pedestrian's ever clicks the pedestrian switch, it will enter a buffer state where the traffic light will show red for another 10 seconds as long as the pedestrian switch is no longer pressed. It will basically buffer for around 10 seconds, and if the emergency switch is not pressed, then we'll go to the traffic light will turn green and the gate will open, and the DC motor will actually vibrate, which is actually used to simulate sound. It's not used to make any sort of vibration in the real life scenario. Now, in case the emergency switch is pressed during the red buffer state and the green light state, it will go to an emergency buffer where the traffic light shows amber, and the gate will stay open for another 7.5 seconds, and as long as the 7.5 seconds is finished, it will then go back to the red buffer into the red default state. But if the emergency switch is not pressed, then during the green state it will show around 10 seconds, and as long as the pedestrian switch is not pressed, it will then go to a buffer state where the traffic light shows amber for another 7.5 seconds, and this is the part where the sound will trigger. These two. So when it shows amber, it will play an alarm where it signifies people that this is their last chance to cross the pedestrian crossing. So once that 7.5 seconds is over, it will go back to the default state. So that's all for the state. Now here, what I have here, this thing, is basically the output that allows me to control the servo motor. Not the servo motor. The traffic light and the, let's see, I think it's the traffic light. Oh yeah, and the DC motor, which I have back here. Okay, so that's for the digital output. The display is basically just to show like what are the current outputs, but it's not important. Okay, now what I have here is the is a system where I allow the system to play the sound. So what I have here is the multimedia file. This is the setting here, and this is the switch. So basically it takes an input where as long as an input meets this condition, it will play this sound, but if it doesn't meet this condition, then it will play the other audio that's connected here. But I don't have any audio connected here because I only want one audio to play while this one is true. Okay, now last one is the basically this is the analog output. So now the analog output allows me to control my servo motors. The servo motor as to go up or to go down. Okay, so I only have one port connected here. So just to show you how it works, allow me to just run it first. Okay, so this is the traffic light, and this is the gate. So this is the gate that acts as a barrier for the each side of the pedestrian crossing. Okay, sorry, yeah. Okay, now what we have here is the two switches. Okay, this one, the black one here, is the pedestrian switch, and the one here is the emergency switch. So let's put this to the test. Oops, sorry. Okay, so once I press this, then it will go to a buffer state, and once it enters a buffer state, it should open anytime soon. There. So the gate opens and the light turns green, and while the light turns green, the DC motor actually turns on. So this one acts like a sound cue lah. So once it turns to amber, it plays a sound which is coming from my laptop, and once it finishes, it will go back to the default state, which is the red light and the servo motor, and the gate being closed. Now let's try to run it again, but with the emergency switch implemented. So now it's going to a buffer state. Okay, now it's at green. So if I press this one, it should automatically override. There. So it stays up for another 7.5 seconds. And once it's 7.5 seconds, it's up. The gate closes and the traffic light turns red. So the by default, for the vehicle's traffic light and the pedestrian traffic light, how the whatever the pedestrian traffic light shows, the vehicle traffic light should show the opposite. So that is all from me. Thank you.